departing.
No studio for us today, dear listener. Rather, as you may be able to tell in a few minutes from the slightly different ambience of the sound, this month we're on the road. So this is Ian Jindal, Editor-in-Chief and co-founder of Internet Retailing, and this month I've been allowed to leave Retail Towers and head further afield. Now, earlier in the month we hosted a RetailCraft dinner in Copenhagen. Now, the RetailCraft network came from our research business, RetailX, which tracks, measures and assesses the activities of the top 500 multi-channel retailers and direct selling brands across Europe. Now, while we measure objective performance and undertake our research tucked away in a dark basement, we also recognise that business is created and sustained by the people behind the brands. In this, our podcast series, we talk to those people, but in real life, we also run a dinner series across Europe where we invite digital professionals to meet off the record, to get to know each other or reacquaint themselves in an informal and confidential setting. So our Copenhagen visit was the first in that wonderful city, and we were well looked after at the incredible edible restaurant bar. Sadly, I can't share photos of that because it was off the record, but before dinner, I took advantage of the electric zip scooters and the incredible cycle lane network and risked life and limb to zip around a town and meet with a couple of great retailers. So this episode has a slightly unintended Danish jewellery feel to it, since I visited both Georg Jensen and Pandora. So my first visit was to the headquarters of Georg Jensen, the Danish and of course now global silversmith to homeware iconic designer. I had an incredible tour of their silversmiths workshop, and I've posted those images online. I'll put a link in the programme notes. And I was shown around by the lovely Will Lockie, their global head of e-commerce. He's a Brit who's moved from bikes to bracelets, as it were. He used to be the head of e-commerce at Evans. And our interview starts after my tour and meeting the team over lunch, and we pick up in their team office. Hey, Will. Thank you so much for inviting me to your lovely home.
You're so welcome.
But also, it's odd being in a place that is so like a show home meets a craft place. So why don't you tell everyone where we are?
We are in the offices of Georg Jensen, a Danish design house established in 1904. So been around for a very long time now. Georg Jensen, I'll pronounce it the UK way.
Yeah.
Always have trouble with that. Yeah, so it's history in silverware. We've been downstairs to the smithy. Maybe we'll talk about that later. A history in silverware, jewellery and the home categories in the heart of Copenhagen in Denmark.
But when you say the heart of Copenhagen, I mean, this is just an immense building, which is, warehoused on the one hand, but beautifully finished on the other. And it used to be the old porcelain works, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Raw Copenhagen are next door. And this whole building used to be a huge factory. Yeah. So in the dingy basements, you'll find kilns where they used to fire the pottery. Next door, we've got the Raw Copenhagen outlet. We'll go and have a look there later. Yeah. And yeah, it used to be an old factory and hence the big chimneys outside where the workers would pour in and out. Yeah. The bell would ring. But now it's modern offices.
So I think I've taken some photos, which I'll obviously put online so people can see. But it's if you imagine a suite in a 6-star international hotel, that's what the offices look like, with display cases, beautifully laid out, tables ready to receive royalty, the ambassador, with a nice design to it. It's incredible. Yeah. But we also had a look around the silversmiths area. So on the ground floor, half the space is dedicated to people who are actual craftsmen. This isn't like some in-store display where you can pretend it's being made. These are people with hundreds of hammers malleting bits of silver into the most incredible creations.
Yes, malleting, bashing, it all goes on here.
I'm sure there's some technical terms for that.
We're going to find out the technical term for bashing and malleting. But yeah, absolutely, it's not theatre. It's for real. We have a silversmith downstairs where, as you say, there's guys that have trained for 10 years to make very special kind of one-off pieces, literally out of a chunk of silver, bashing it with a hammer, as they say.
And we were looking at those silver Marie Antoinette champagne goblety glasses things. But the design for that was from when? The 1960s, wasn't it?
Yeah, so here in the building we have an archive of all of the old designs, the old drawings, all the original, basically, things that you could use to build pieces from. And when people want to commission something or when they want to come up with a new design to sell more commercially, they go upstairs into the archives, dig around, find an old picture and say, well, okay, we could use that for some inspiration, or if we're doing collaborations with other artists, we go and put them in the archive upstairs and go and come up with something, let them read the old books and dig around and see all the old pieces. It's really interesting.
So just from looking around, there seems to be a sort of split, if you like, in the brand between the jewellery, high craft, silver, gold, precious stones, and then Danish-looking design, homeware, cutlery, some soft furniture, and so on. So it seems odd to have these two sides because different price point, different sales approach. How do those fit together?
So it's a challenge, actually. So if at the heart of the business were kind of Danish or Scandinavian design, and the heart of the business were the origins in silverware, then that's sort of grown into, silver jewellery, gold jewellery, silver homeware, now becomes steel homeware for more commercial sales. And it's actually quite challenging selling two very different categories because actually they're almost two completely different businesses, right? So jewellery, fine jewellery, as we discussed, is, some of it's made here, some of it's made in Thailand, like a lot of other big jewellery businesses.
But again, for the expertise rather than for low cost.
Correct, yeah. It's not about
offshoring,
it's not about cheap
the
labour.
Skills they have in jewellery.
It's literally about the skills and the resources, basically being closer to where the gold and the silver is, basically. So you've got that side of the business, and obviously people dropping, a few €1,000 on a ring don't do that very often every week, and it's less commoditised, right? Whereas you've got the home side of the business, which is, very beautifully designed homeware, tableware, glasses, cutlery, and all of that, which is more commercial. So there we are almost competing in that space versus, other high-end, home retailers. It sells in John Lewis in the UK for a point of reference, and not many, and Heels actually.
Yes, but then in Denmark, if you're in the centre of Copenhagen, that lovely street that's pedestrianised, you've got Ilums and Hay, your store. So you've got this quadrant of upper quartile Danish design, so duking it out on the high street. So it sort of feels very much at home in Denmark.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said to you downstairs, almost every home in Denmark will have one of our coffee thermo jugs. These things are very, very popular. And back to the retail. I mean, also when you talk about retail, if you walk into one of our stores, you'll see jewellery. So in retail, jewellery is about retail. Almost, we sell most of the jewellery in retail. Less expensive jewellery is sold online, more home online than in the stores. So it's quite a difficult challenge, and also, just down to the logistic challenges of shipping that big candle. 6 kilogram candelabra I showed you from Denmark to London costs me a lot of money. It doesn't cost me much money to send you a ring. So, economies of scale, margins, it's all comes into play in a big mix.
So I'm just struck that our listener would be thinking, that guy has got a really good English accent for a Dane. So we should probably come clear and say that you've been here, a year?
Been here a year now, yes.
So recently, I think the last time we interviewed you, you were at Evans, wasn't
Correct,
it?
yes.
So you did a lot there, especially on the click and collect and the store side.
Yes.
So the phone rings and someone says, would you like to come and live in Copenhagen? There are worse phone calls to get.
There are worse phone calls to get, and there's definitely worse places to live, absolutely. I mean, you do... It's quite different, as we discussed. Moving from bikes in the UK, to jewellery and fine design in Copenhagen. Yeah, it's a big cultural shift. And you have all of those kind of cultural challenges and different ways of working that you just don't get in the UK. The plus side, as we have both just discovered, a beautiful lunch at 11:30 every day. You sit down with your team.
11:30. I can't believe it.
You can't beat it.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming, of course, that everyone's at their desk at 0600, beavering away, of course.
No sandwiches at your desks in Denmark. Yeah.
So in Denmark, you've got a global role. So maybe just tell us a bit about what you're doing now. So you come in to run e-com globally. Just give us a thumbnail sketch of what that involves.
It's interesting. I mean, every business is very, very different. But here we're structured, so this is the global corporate HQ. So from here, we run e-commerce globally. Obviously, we don't fulfill. Fulfillment in the US is 3PL. All European fulfillment is from Denmark. And all APAC fulfillment is, as we discussed, from the stores. But the Salesforce Commerce Cloud, our baby, is managed here, and we have kind of the way we're structured is you'd have a market lead, and they feed us with their trading plans, and we adjust their site accordingly, literally. I'd call that a sort of a small scale e-commerce model because it's not fully out to the markets yet, but we're working on that.
And what's your link with the stores? So we've already mentioned off mic, the challenges sometimes of shipping heavy metal items around the world, especially if they're delicate and people don't want to have their new candelabra dinged or something.
Yeah.
So, what's the link with stores for click and collect or with the country directors for localized, maybe digital marketing campaigns and sale campaigns? How sort of local can you be, and how do you work with the stores? So two questions in one.
Yeah. So logistics, click and collect, all that stuff, all work in progress because there's systems, and like all retailers, we have had loads of fun with legacy systems, integrations, and so on. So we're working on that stuff. So that stuff's coming. We managed to get iPads in the stores this year. Yeah, so there's a step forward basically to at least bring an endless aisle into the store, because in the stores they don't have big shelves to stock those big candles, and we don't want stock sat on the shelves tying up cash. So sell it from the iPad, please. So that's one small thing that we've done. And then in terms of the structures, there's marketing campaigns, and it's almost run as like a fashion business actually, because the product launch and the life cycle, that almost dictates the commercial calendar. The commercial calendar dictates, what's launching where and when, and what marketing campaigns you put your euros or your kronas behind.
Yeah. And I mean, the store experience I've had has been exceptional. One year I was in a store with my wife, and I was getting a bit bored. Vicky was trying on some rings, and the store assistant served like a glass of champagne. I thought, okay. But what she did was she slipped a card to me and said, just so you know, this is your wife's ring size, and these are things she was looking at, so you can call me anytime.
Yeah,
and I thought, look, I know that's a sales technique, but you've done it so nicely that that was really good. And when I rang months and months later, she'd kept a record as well. So even before the iPad, you had that sort of service culture, which, I think is an important component these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you're dealing with such high-end customers as yourself,
Mrs. J.
That level of service is almost a hygiene factor now in terms of.
But I've also noticed that the rate of your product launches seems to have accelerated. Am I just imagining that, or are you extending your ranges more rapidly?
Actually, there's more of a focus on core rather than extending too far. So more of a focus on core, and actually more of a focus on what works well. So in the last year, we launched a range called Offspring, which is slightly lower price point, but has become the all-time best-selling range ever.
Wow.
Yeah. So then you get line extensions because of, Offspring was in silver, let's do Offspring Gold.
Right.
Gold doesn't sell well for me online, but I sell loads of silver online because it's cheaper and aimed at a younger demographic, like yourself.
Yes, I'm going to adjust that for sarcasm.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the online, then. You've been in post a year, stabilised the platform, now working globally. What's your focus now? What's the next thing we'll be seeing online?
Yeah, exactly. So as we spoke about earlier, there was a lot of stabilisation, shall we say, to begin with. And now there's kind of 2 or 3 areas of focus in the long term. There's definitely a focus on, heavy focus on a bit more commercial trading. Been doing that.
What does commercial trading mean? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean...
discount or promotion-led or the opposite?
Yeah, I wouldn't... Yeah, trading doesn't always mean discount. That's a thing that I'm trying to teach myself and others, is good general commercial trading practice. Because I think what happens maybe more so at more established brands, you can't just sit here in our ivory tower in Copenhagen and expect the world to flock to us and buy things. Yeah, we have to go out there and trade. So that's a big focus. Another big focus is profitability. Yeah,
so we like that word.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've done a lot of work in that in the last few months. I just literally, going back to the example of the big candelabra versus the little ring, what channel do we trade in? What should our margin choice be? And, some logistics work as well. The cost of returns, that's a big factor. The cost of shipping is a big factor. When we're shipping from a warehouse in the north of Denmark to you in London, it's costing me $50 sometimes. I can't pass that on to the customer because then I lose top-line sales. So
as long as if you can have multiple warehouses due to the value and your stock spread all over the place.
Yeah, and exactly. And so going back to, can we use the store inventory? Yes, we can. But again, more logistics and technical stuff. Yeah. But long-term focus is trading, profitability, and the right balance, shall I say, between promotion and discount, and good, solid, fixing the basics. We've just put in more payment options. We're just about putting more delivery options, so you can get next day. We'll have delivery to pick up points soon, hopefully. So a lot of still work on hygiene factors too.
And in case people aren't sure about the distribution, although it's a Danish brand, visible, for example, a couple of stores in London that I know of, and a few airports in New York we visited last January, in fact, during our NRF store tour. Where is the bulk of the store estate?
Interesting, yeah. So interestingly, the bulk of the store estate is in APAC. So
why is that? Is that interesting product?
Yeah, I think so. There were more stores in Europe, and especially in Europe, and over the years there's been open more stores, pull back from stores, open more stores. As various owners and investors come along, the strategies change, right? And obviously, as we know, when there's too much rent, then that's the first thing that kind of that gets cut. But in APAC, the brand is very much more well known than in the US. So it's developed more in APAC. In Australia, we have probably about 20 stores. In Japan, Taiwan. Yeah, in Taiwan, the brand is really well known. We launched e-commerce in Taiwan in January of this year, which is that was a good challenge.
And is that run locally, or do you run them from here?
Yeah, so we have all the challenges of Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Let's build the Taiwanese site, okay? But then we have to have the local team to obviously run it, fulfill the orders from that site, and understand it.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of guys from Copenhagen went over to Taipei for a couple of weeks and taught them.
Great.
Yeah.
So you've had most of your career in the UK so far. You're living in Copenhagen, running a global team. My impression as I walk around and meet your colleagues is just everybody's incredibly lovely and happy. So, don't burst that bubble. But, how are you finding just the human side of running these big teams across the world, different time zones, cultures, selling approaches?
Yeah. It's always a challenge because there's 2 levels there. You've got your local team, the people around us, the people, having lunch downstairs with, obviously from a different culture, Danish, very open, lovely, warm, chatting, good life-work balance. So that comes through. The building may be very quiet after 3 p.m. in the afternoon, which is also a challenge sometimes, but that comes through. But people here are very collaborative, very open, very structured. in their work, and that whole kind of Scandinavian ethos to work. Come across that. That's been interesting and good fun to work with. So you've got that going on, and then you've obviously got the challenges of working with the markets, where you will have even wider cultural and language barriers, as we discussed a bit over lunch. And you have to find ways that work. Yeah, you have to find ways and methods of communicating and agreeing so everything is simple and well understood. Yeah,
it's a motto for life. Well, look, you look like you're having fun. What's on your agenda for the rest of the year then? So if you're writing a postcard home saying we'll be mostly busy doing what?
Yeah, I will mostly be busy still doing profitability stuff. We'll be delivering a lot of big development. We're actually redesigning the site at the moment. I might show you that later.
Yeah, good.
Oh, I'll show you that later. So by the end of this year, you'll have better service levels from us. You'll have a nicely refreshed design that gets the brand across better. That's one of the things. And good, solid, profitable, yet competitive trading.
Well, look, if you had to have something on a T-shirt, a large T-shirt, that would work really well. So I can tell people are so excited outside, they've been throwing things in bins. So sorry about that banging. But I'm going to take you up on the offer of a quick store tour.
Yeah, let's go and have a look around.
Great. Thanks, Will.
Cheers, Ian.
Wow, thanks, Will, for those insights. Do have a look at the images of the silversmiths online. It really is incredible to see that level of craftsmanship stretching over 100 years. I was particularly taken by the library of photos of all of the people who've been named silversmith over the years. It was absolutely extraordinary. But from Will, I hopped back onto the scooter and zipped down to the harbour and the new development of offices in Havenholmen in the southwest of the city. There I met with David Walmsley, their Chief Digital and Omnichannel Officer at Pandora, and of course well known as a long-time leader in multichannel retail. He's been at John Lewis, Dixon's, Marks and Spencer, House of Fraser. In fact, David's held leadership roles in so many of the top UK companies. I was keen, therefore, to catch up with him in his relatively new role to learn more about Pandora and see what he's been up to. So let's head over now to David in the Pandora HQ. David, lovely seeing you. So last time we saw you, I think you were on the cover of the magazine a while ago. So lots happened since then. So let's put a name and a voice to what I'm seeing. Tell us who you are.
So my name is David Walmsley, Ian Jindal, and I am now in the role of Chief Digital and Omnichannel Officer at Pandora, the global jewellery company.
Great, so another chief role. Before we dive into Pandora, which is interesting of itself, you do have one of the more storied careers in multi-channel since I think more or less the web was invented. So John Lewis, M&S, House of Fraser as Chief Customer Officer.
Yes, yeah.
So you've sort of done many, many things.
Yes, yeah.
So, and of course you've written about those. So here we are in lovely Copenhagen and you're at Pandora. So in case there's anybody who doesn't have either a bracelet or hasn't passed a store, tell us about Pandora first off.
Well, I think I'd say, when I was approached about Pandora, I joined the business for two reasons. One is actually the product, because it's a beautiful product that people love. And I just find it so important to really believe in what I'm selling. I tried selling electricals a number of years ago, and I just find...
Of course, I forgot about Dixon's.
Toshiba laptop chassis numbers, very boring, and kilogram loads for washing machines. You've got to believe in your product, and the product here is beautiful. It's just got an amazing story as well. And the second reason was the global reach of the business. That's a challenge that I've never really had before. I've worked in UK companies selling abroad and attempting to sell abroad. But the global reach and the complexity and challenge and the opportunity of that is something that really appealed to me. If you don't know Pandora, it is actually the world's largest jewellery company. It's a very fragmented market. We're on turnover the largest jewellery company in the world.
And what sort of turnover are we talking about?
In Danish kroner, which I'm rapidly getting my head around, it's around the 20 billion mark, which is about 2.5 billion sterling.
I think in today's exchange rate is quite a bit more than that.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. I think you just got up to about 5 billion.
Excellent, okay, excellent.
That's the growth that you've delivered.
It's just startling change already. But the product is amazing. The business started 37 years ago. our amazing founders, jewelry shop in Copenhagen, importing jewelry from Thailand, started making their own jewelry, invented the charm bracelet that Pandora is famous for and synonymous with about 15 years ago, and really went on this massive global expansion and has become and still remains a global phenomenon. I think most people listening will, like you say, will either own or know someone who owns or have bought charms or bracelets for a loved one over the years. And it's just a really fascinating business from that point of view. It's a really great product and a product that means so much to our audience as well. People don't.
It's about moments.
Well, you're not buying a charm of the Eiffel Tower because you like steel engineering. You're buying it because it means something incredibly important to you. And that's what we sell. It's those kind of moments and memories, to be slightly schmarketing about it. But,
I think let
really
the record show that there's a tear in your eye as you speak. But you mentioned Thailand, and this is the second time we've heard this. Again, this isn't Thailand for low labour costs. This is all around the silversmithing
skills,
and jewellery skills, isn't it?
Skills, specialisation. I mean, like I said, our founder, when they started going to Thailand to stop wholesaling and start making their own jewellery, and particularly the silversmithing, they just built up a great workforce, craftsmen. You've got multi-generational families there now, sort of fathers and sons, mothers and daughters. The facility.
We're all working for you on the product.
Yeah, and the specialisation, you'd be amazed at the hand craftsmanship that goes into the charms and bracelets. I've seen them being made in front of me, and it is staggering, the skill that goes into these things and the pride that the guys take in the product. And the Thailand factories, the jewellery factories they are state of the art, and really great working facilities and very supportive working facilities are something to behold. And actually we need to do more actually to bring that to the fore, really, because 90% of the silver is recycled. It's all solid silver. The product is handcrafted, and we need to actually tell more of that story, I think.
I think in a mass production age, we're used to seeing intricate things. You think, there must be a mould for that. Or,
there's got to be a machine banging it out.
Robots. But I mean, the intricate work is just extraordinary.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's, the customers who know the brand really well understand that and know that. And I think, like I said, we've got more of a job to do, particularly in the digital channels and through digital media and so on, just tell more of that story and show, the great heart at the middle of the business.
So most people will think, I get my head around a couple of charms or a couple of bracelets, how much do I spend on it? And then divide that into 25 billion Danish kroner.
It's a lot of charms.
That is a lot of charms. Yeah. So the global reach of the business, you mentioned it briefly before. I mean, I've seen it in airports and in London and obviously in Copenhagen, but it's literally tentacles around the world.
Yeah, I mean, we've got... I should know these numbers off by heart by now, 12 weeks in, but 3,000 stores directly owned by us, franchise partners globally, and then same number of concessions on top of that, shop-in-shops. And so that's a huge global reach. The business only started selling online very recently, 4.5 years ago, partly because the nature of the business was previously separate businesses globally. Each country was a separately incorporated business. A lot of it was through franchise, and the business has been bringing a lot of that back in-house over the last few years. So it has been quite, sort of fragmented from where it's come from. So e-commerce is quite late in the day for Pandora. So we're very much kind of playing catch up on that kind of direct channel. But the business is genuinely global. We're selling in, I think, over 75 countries in one form or another.
But in terms then of your team as CDOO, Chief Digital...
CDU,
Chief Digital Omnichannel, and... What was the other one?
Chief Digital Omnichannel Officer.
Thank you, God. I need to write this down. I can do three letter acronyms, no more. So where's your team based then? Because you're UK-based. Yeah. There's a very lovely headquarters that we're sitting in now in Copenhagen.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, my kind of official residence is the UK, as you say, but main development team is based in Baltimore on the East Coast in the US. I've got a team of guys in China, because China is a huge market for us, but obviously from a digital perspective, very different. So we've got an in-country team that we're building up in Shanghai. We've got some developers in Bulgaria, and then a couple of architects and some of the technology guys in Copenhagen. So, just constantly flying on a plane somewhere. But I think the challenge, I'm sure people listening will have the same experience. It's about following the talent and about basing ourselves where the talent want to be. And so we've got a challenge to scale the digital team. We need to really get our foot to the floor in terms of engineering and data to really build those capabilities out for the business. We've got some great partners, but we need to have the hybrid model of partners plus in-house. So, and we'll follow where the talent is. So we'll be reshaping where the digital teams are over the next year.
Cool. So you're a couple of months into the role, and it's a very broad remit. So I'm trying to remember all the bits. It's the omnichannel, so into store and back, the web, CRM. What have I missed?
Developing the digital experience. The data and CRM piece is a fundamental glue, again, as everyone listening will know, in terms of driving that customer experience. Global e-commerce, again, quite a fragmented set of teams, lots of great talent in the business that we're harnessing, and really just benchmarking across the globe. It's interesting. Australia seem to be having this with their bounce rates, and the US has got this with their bounce rate. That's interesting, isn't it? So doing a lot of that benchmarking work across the e-com piece at the moment to kind of just find the money on the table. There's a lot of opportunities.
And is that because the circumstances in each market are so different, or because the teams are separate and therefore you need to build that best practice?
It's a combination. There's the technical history in that we're a Salesforce house or Demandware or whatever we call it, but we're a Salesforce Commerce Cloud. That's it. But we've got multiple instances running because they were developed as separate companies. And so a big challenge we've got is bringing that together into one code base. We're rolling out Sterling Order Management, which launched in the US a couple of weeks ago. It's a very rapid project. We've got a global rollout plan for that to put that omnichannel backbone in, get all the store stock data in there. Same playbook that we used at another major retailer I used to work at. So getting that store stock data into Sterling will be a major enabler for the customer proposition. So there's a lot of work going on the technology side, and that's to stop that kind of variation. So it's like real granular stuff in SEO about why's the href set up like that on the blah blah site and it's not like that on the other site, and that possibly why organic traffic's going down on that site. And so when we talk about benchmarking, it's not kind of esoteric consulting. It's literally that's different in that country to that, and they're making more money, so maybe we should bring that together. Should copy that. Yeah. And again, some really great, you'll find in any business, where there's kind of teams in little pockets around the world, there's some really great talent who are doing some really amazing things, but there was no real vehicle for sharing that. So a big part of what we're doing under the kind of very dull title of benchmarking is saying, hey, so-and-so's done this amazing thing, and why don't we pick that up and do it in some of the other countries? So that's where we're starting to get some traction.
And then on the CRM side, I'm getting excited just the thought of thinking that, person A buys charm bracelets for an event. Yeah. They must therefore want to add them extra kids, other holidays, romantic moments.
Exactly.
The CRM opportunities for a product that basically is like meth for jewellery buyers, it must be incredible opportunity.
I think a really big moment for me was a few weeks ago. Friends through school, a couple that we know, and she had a Pandora bracelet on, and he was telling me, the husband, that I bought 3 charms for Christmas. I had to take 2 of them back because they didn't mean anything to my wife.
Right.
And so she refused to have the charms that didn't mean something to her, even though they were very pretty.
Yeah.
That's the hook. The slight challenge, the mechanical challenge we have is that 60% of our buyers are gifters.
Yes.
So they have very different
How do you
capture
capture the gifting intention as well?
Well, that's one of the challenges we've got. If it's a guy, it's probably a gifter. Yeah. But I'm not. But that's as far as we can go.
So the Navy SEAL Pandora range isn't quite ready to be released yet.
Oh well, just wait. You watch this space. But we're very clear on our core market, our core purpose. The business has done a great job of building out the broader jewellery range, rings and necklaces and bracelets over the last 4 or 5 years, but the core is the charm bracelet business. And like I said, from a CRM point of view, it's got huge potential. And the guys have been doing, I think, some great work in email and doing some work in retargeting. But we've got huge opportunities because it's a relationship-driven product.
Of course. I'm just thinking about some of the stores with which I'm familiar. They're not tiny stores, and quite a lot of space for the product, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to work out how many SKUs you must be managing, because every time I look, there's a new range out in different colorways.
Yeah.
So for a store, how many products are they having to manage?
It depends on the grade of the store.
Of course,
so merchandising. Yes. But no, I mean, we operate a couple of thousand SKUs typically globally, and different stores have different sets of those. And there's some local variation. We just launched our first uniquely Chinese collection about 6 weeks ago, the Peach Blossom range for a festival in China, which was very successful. So there's local variation. But actually, it's a very condensed set of SKUs. And again, that's something's different from me, from kind of big box department store retailing where just hundreds of thousands of SKUs all the time. So that's quite nice. It's quite condensed range. And I think the opportunity for us in the digital space is doing a better job of showing people how the bracelets go together, showing different looks, showing different combinations.
And what proportion of those would be continuity? So, I can remember my grandmother was into the little charms she'd buy when she went away somewhere.
Yeah.
And so she'd be buying a range of charms over dozens of years. Do you have those continuity ones, or is it like Peach Blossom?
We do.
Now it's gone.
Well, there's a mixture. So we have the sort of campaign ranges, so whether it's we've got a great collaboration with Disney, so we just did the Dumbo range, which just went like to use a technical term, went like the clappers, so it's hugely popular. So we have those kind of campaign-driven ranges, and then we have core ranges that actually we do reissue. So we will take I think the owl charms, the one I've just seen today, which is the new version of the owl. Which is like great for students and so on.
Owl 2.0.
I think it's an owl on a book sort of thing. But it's kind of, it doesn't evolve, it doesn't change every year. We're not like sort of reinventing the white T-shirt every year like a lot of retailers I could mention do. But it's been about 3 or 4 over 15 years, I think. So that's for the people who know the ranges and the kind of collectors. That's actually quite interesting, and seeing the different iterations. But there is definitely a core range, and we've got an amazing design team, and they blow me away with what they do, and they've really been doing great work on kind of aesthetically pleasing charms, fashion charms and things you can wear just as costume jewelry and so on. But the core business is charms with meaning, objects, characters.
Charms with meaning. I like that phrase. Tell me you've trademarked it already. So in these stores, which are very bright, very clean, nice places to be, they really celebrate the product. What does omnichannel look like? So when you wave your omni wand over them, what's the customer going to notice?
The main piece that we're focused on with the whole omni heading, there's two, I'll come on to the second one, but the main piece is supporting that shopping journey from the research into buying. Because we do, on the UK website today, we've got 650 charms, US website 950 charms. And when I was in process for this role, I did some mystery shopping, and I was confused, in terms of kind of what goes with what, which bracelet do I need to go with which charms, and the store guys were helpful, but they were kind of, well, do you remember what you looked at on the website? Not really. Well, maybe you could write down the numbers. So we've got a lot of opportunities to join that together into a more supported conversation, and support our colleagues in store as well with kind of tools that they're going to be able to use with the customers. Not kind of fancy screens, but real simple kind of selling tools, simple CRM and so on. So that's the big piece. Alongside that, we've got a lot of work to do to catch up around click and collect and endless aisle and so on. So we've actually launched just last month we launched endless aisle in the States, which is the first country we've got that running in. Again, a rapid trial and a rapid piece of work, and more to follow on that omni fulfillment piece. But the omni shopping piece,
yes,
call those two things.
So make the promises, and then the next one is deliver on those promises.
Yeah, exactly. Very much, very much.
Interesting. So look, what are the next few months going to store? So, when you get off the plane, you think, I'm really looking forward to ... What's the highlight upcoming for you?
I think we've got a lot of work going on for the kind of core digital experience. I don't think we can call them websites anymore, can we? But
I think because we're old,
we can get away with it. Yeah. But the website,
screen-based interfaces.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm still staggered. 4 out of 5 of our audience are mobile-based.
Wow, that's extraordinary.
It really is. It really is quite staggering.
And buying. So 80% buying or just
browsing?
browsing?
Browsing and buying, it's the same number. So from that point of view, I've banned kind of desktop screenshots.
Wow.
And I'm trying, as ever, and rewire my brain around that. So
Sorry, just forget the website. Let's talk about the the experience.
Well, yes, the experience. We've got a lot of work going on around the experience to streamline that. The website, if your listeners look at it today, is it's a bit boxy, quite white, very transactionally focused. Which is no bad thing. We very much in favour of selling things to people, but it doesn't have that kind of warmth and feel that is really actually at the heart of the brand. So. Working on the visuals and then streamlining the journey and trying to make the charm bracelet journey in particular more supportive. So kind of watch this space around some of the tools that we're going to be introducing in the autumn to make that a better experience.
Great. Well, I'm excited. So you were kind to say listeners. I think it is just one. So if our listener could come up with a better word than website for the thing you see on your mobile screens. I think there's probably a competition there. Maybe we should offer a bead.
There might be a charm in it.
There's a charm. If you can come up with a new word that passes David's scrutiny, then you can pick that magic moment charm for yourselves. David, thanks so much for welcoming us into this lovely office.
Well, thanks. Good to be here.
So I'm still amazed at the sheer global scale of Pandora, and I'm grateful to David for giving us this insight. It's interesting to see across both Pandora and Georg Jensen the similar focus on product and craft, as well as the challenges of running a global operation. So thanks to them both. Now we're back in London for the next episode, and we're also recording a couple of summer specials, a sort of book club, if you will. So we'll be chatting with the authors of books on digital, multi-channel and strategy, and giving you a chance to hear some backstory and also some behind the scenes. We've 2 episodes planned, one highly practical and the other focused on strategy. So please do drop me a note with any suggestions of books or authors you'd like us to cover, but we'll be dropping at least 2 episodes on you as you lie on the beach over the autumn break. And later in the year, we'll be visiting Paris, Berlin, Amsterdam and Cologne with our portable tape recording kit. And we'd love to visit you. So if you'd be open to chatting with us or having us visit your office, do let us know and we'd be very happy to oblige. But in the meantime, thanks again to Will and David for hosting us. And until our next episode, happy trading.
Please take all belongings with you.